Welcome everyone to this session, which is about the end-of-life information needs of people with a learning disability and those who support them. My name is Kate Maitland. I'm a Senior Research Manager and Nurse in Marie Curie's Evidence in Practice team. I currently chair the organisation's Learning Disabilities Community of Practice and have the very great pleasure of chairing this morning's session. Links to the resources mentioned, the videos, the easy read books, photo book, guidance for professionals will all be shared in the chat. Before we start, can I invite you to use the chat function to share where you're joining us from today, and remind you also to use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen for any questions you have, as we have plenty of time allocated to respond to them at the end of the presentations. Nadia, over to you.
Thanks so much, Kate. Hi, everyone. I'm Nadia. Amy and I work in the information support team at Marie Curie. We produce evidence-based, accurate, and easy to understand information for anyone affected by terminal illness. And for the last year, we've been working on a project to develop our information for people with a learning disability and the people who support them. One of the people we've worked with on this project is Sue, who's here with us today in the frame with Amy. So I'm going to hand over to them now.
Hi everyone, my name's Amy and I'm here with Sue today. Sue's supported the project and we're going to tell people a little bit about you.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us who you live with?
I live with my husband Peter in Eastbourne.
Yeah.
And my sister lives in East Dean.
Yeah.
And my family's, Amy lives in Bournemouth with the other family and mine.
Yeah.
Yours.
So you live in Eastbourne with your husband?
Yes.
And you're retired now, but what did you do for work before you retired?
I used to, in the bartender piece, I used to do the washing up of bits and pieces. And that's when I met Peter. And then Carl moved me to Eastbourne and used to do the same thing in Eastbourne Hospital, washing up.
So you worked in the bar in Peterborough and then in the hospital kitchen as well.
Serving food and that.
And what do you do with your time now?
I go to college on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, doing art at Jam on Mondays, art and reforming art on Wednesday, and art in the morning and recycling in the afternoons on Fridays.
So lots of different college classes that you're enjoying.
I had to do 4.
Yeah, Sue's busier than most of us, I'm sure. And you supported us with this project about supporting people with a learning disability. And we know that having a learning disability is really different for everyone. When we talk about information, we talk about a learning disability perhaps affecting people's ability to understand or process information, or to communicate their thoughts or needs. And I wanted to know, Sue, how do you feel having a learning disability affects you?
It sometimes affects me for I don't understand. If I don't understand forms and that, my sister might be with it.
Yeah. So if you don't understand forms and things, your sister helps you.
Yes, she does.
And thinking about healthcare and going to the doctor or nurse, is that something you do by yourself or is it something you support?
On Fridays when my leg problem, my sister Karen takes me or George will take me out there just to have a look at it.
Yeah.
And then the injections that I'm doing with Melanie on this 22nd of 24th this month. Yeah. She's taking in March. She's doing the baby injection in me for my birds.
Okay.
So I'll be okay with that.
Yeah. So sometimes you go by yourself, and then sometimes your sister or another relative.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. You've been involved in this project in a few different ways. You shared your experiences of accessing healthcare and of grief as well when your dad died. Yeah. And you've told us what you think about different booklets and videos we've shown you. Yeah. And you've also been filmed talking about your experiences, and we'll show a bit of one of the films you've been in later. What's been your favourite part of being involved?
Is filming and talking about people.
Yeah.
And then looking at the photographs of my sister and it's really, and go back to the elders, my dad in it, and it's really nice looking back on it and my wedding as well.
Yeah. So when we did the filming with Sue, she talked about her experiences, and then also we looked at things like the photos from your childhood and things, which was really interesting.
It was very nice.
Right. And during the presentation today, Sue's going to tell us a bit about some of her thoughts and experience of being involved in the project as well. But to start with, Nadia's going to talk about how we develop information at Marie Curie and how we approach this project.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, here is an overview of our production process and this project itself. We thought it'd be just helpful to show a quick overview of this. We normally start with an assessment of the topic and our research. We then create content and review this with users and experts. And we then design the materials, in this case, printed booklets and films. And then we get sign off from senior colleagues. You'll see in this diagram user input mentioned throughout, and this is because we involve users at all stages of the project. And when we say users, in this case, I mean people with lived experience and the intended audience, so people with a learning disability and the people who support them. So an example of user input for this project would be at the topic assessment and research phase, we spoke to people with a learning disability and their family and various experts to explore experiences and knowledge of topics and identify any particular user needs around these. It's important to say that the work we've done, it's not formal academic research, but it's about understanding people's experiences and needs and getting their feedback on resources. So a bit more about understanding people's needs. We started by looking at what resources were already out there for people with a learning disability on the topics of terminal illness, palliative and end-of-life care, dying, death, and grief. We did find some topics with already comprehensive choice of resources and really brilliant resources. For example, the Victoria Institute End-of-Life Care Planning Toolkit, and we have put the link to this and other great resources in the resources section. We also conducted a literature review into learning disabilities, palliative end-of-life care, and grief. A lot of research about people with a learning disability doesn't include their views. So this is one of the main reasons that user input was really central to the whole project. We spoke to people with a learning disability and we had sort of exploratory conversations at first about people's experiences, understanding, perceptions of certain topics, some misconceptions, any particular challenges that people have faced, and also about formats that people have used already and any resources that people have used already, and how they access information. We also spoke to family members and different professionals about their experiences supporting someone. And with all of these groups, we explored what information they wanted but was not available and what they'd used in these scenarios so far in their lives. So, for example, some people we found had created their own sort of photo books or social stories. I'm now going to hand back over to Amy and Sue.
Thanks, Nadia. And so this is what we found. So everyone with a learning disability, as all of us, we're all unique and have different experiences and needs. And we found that people with a learning disability had the same information needs as everyone that we find. So a lot of people want to know about what to expect, what death and dying will be like, and what support we can get. If someone they know was ill or dying, they wanted to know how life would change and how they'll manage. We also found some specific things when we spoke to people. So we found that people were left out of conversations. We spoke to a person who found out that their family member was ill from seeing a text pop up on the phone. We spoke to people who'd supported other people who were not told for months that someone close to them had died and had wondered why they didn't visit them anymore. And often people were felt left out of conversations. I don't know, Sue, if there's anything that you want to say on that. I think one of the things you mentioned was that you felt like you were told that your dad died after other people.
Yeah, that's what did. Heart attack. But there was some reason why. There's something else that he died of.
Yeah, so it wasn't clear what he had died of.
No.
And I think one of the things you said is that that kind of the fact that other people were told before you. How did that make you feel?
Very upset over it.
Yeah.
And why did they tell me straight away?
Yeah.
And I could have posted it more better than on the Sunday.
Yeah.
And my mum came out with Karen, Michael, Peter, and the family.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to know when the day that he died.
Yeah.
It would be nice in that way.
Yeah.
Than doing it on the day.
Yeah. Yeah. And we found that people did feel quite upset, and it could break down trust a bit if people had that experience as well. We also found that there was some confusion around death and terminal illness. So often people talked about weren't aware that there were illnesses that you could die from, or talked about other illnesses in that context. And there was sometimes people found the finality of death, the fact that people couldn't come back to life, and that wasn't possible, difficult as well. We found that people wanted information. Most people wanted to know how to support someone else if they were dying. And some people needed support or going over through things multiple times as well. And I think, Sue, one of the things we talked about was you really wanted to understand why your dad died.
I did. And it would be nice to know how he died.
Yeah.
Not just died on the lounge floor after he shut up the post office.
Yeah, so it was sort of found on the floor, and it wasn't clear what exactly had happened.
He died.
Yeah. And we also found that people may need different formats to understand information, and more in-person support as well. So for most people we spoke to, kind of wordy, longer booklets or written information wasn't right for most people. And people often accessed information through or with a family member or friend or a support worker as well. And I think that's one thing you said as well, that you kind of, when we were looking at the booklets, you felt that wasn't something that you were given or told about.
No, that in our days there was nobody's really like that in our day.
Yeah, so there wasn't things like that at the time. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And Nadia's going to talk next about how we kind of narrowed down the topics and formats to know what to focus on.
Yeah, so as you can see, there's a lot of topics on the screen. So this was sort of a long list of topics that we came up with after initially speaking to people about their experiences and different information needs. And we obviously needed to narrow this down. So we worked with people with a learning disability and family members to do this. And we based it on sort of what was most important to them, biggest challenges and unknowns with regards to topics, and also trying to address misconceptions. We also considered what resources would have sort of the best reach and impact, and what would also be used by people supporting people with a learning disability. We also looked at what was already available, as I mentioned earlier. So as I also mentioned earlier, a lot of conversations just aren't happening with people with a learning disability. And one of the reasons for this that we found was the avoidance of abstract concepts, purely because a lot of the time it's really difficult to explain abstract concepts and also difficult to understand sometimes, especially when a lot of topics are linked and you don't necessarily know where to start. So for example, terminal illness and death. We found breaking resources down into smaller topics worked to facilitate the understanding of these individual topics, and people found this a sort of easier way to start these conversations. Having an understanding of those concepts like death and terminal illness, or what you might see when someone is dying, this can enable further conversations to then happen more easily. So for example, once people have an understanding of these concepts, conversations about prognosis or planning ahead or why things have changed became easier for people. We also want to talk today about how we decided on our formats. So I would love to know what you think people wanted in terms of formats. If you could pop your guesses in the chat, that would be brilliant. I think it's really interesting to know what people think is the most popular format or what was the most sort of wanted. And then we can let you know what we did in the end. No pressure if you don't want to guess, though. I can see some ones coming through now. Thank you. Yes, I've seen video, pictures, books without words, video, booklets with pictures, diagram or table. All of them, Angela. Well, yes, that was the most common sort of request. Ideally, everything in every format. And we wanted to explore why this was. So we repeatedly heard two main things, and that was about having a choice of formats on demand, so at the point of accessing information, or using different formats alongside each other was actually really popular as well. Unfortunately, everything in every format wasn't realistic for this particular project, but we did want to provide as much choice as we possibly could. So we asked what people usually used and showed people different formats, as you can see here. So down the left-hand side, I've just got some stills of some videos, different types of videos. And at the right-hand side, we've got a couple of images from different booklets. We decided to produce the key topics that we found in different formats. We wanted to offer a printed version as well as digital versions of information. Video was a really popular format. People responded really well to a professional speaking about a topic, so like the top option there. But people actually preferred it not to be in a clinical setting or for the person to be wearing a uniform because it could potentially be off-putting for them. We also wanted to include experiences and views of people with a learning disability, of course, especially with topics around grief, and if and how to speak about death and dying. Easy read was another one that we explored. So that's the bottom image on the right there. That's an example of one of our easy reads. It's actually one of our old easy reads. It's important to mention. You'll see some more relevant screenshots later, but we basically found that for people with a learning disability that are able to read at different levels responded really well to the easy read format, and people actually preferred having the images and the words together. We also know that people often access information with someone else, as Amy mentioned earlier. People that are supporting people with a learning disability also found having the sort of easy read words, so more easy to understand and shorter sentences and words. They found this plus the images really helpful for less familiar and abstract topics that I mentioned earlier, because it sort of gives people words or ideas to explain these topics in an accessible way. So examples of this are syringe drivers or syringe pumps and terminal illness. We did have feedback on our existing easy reads, so like the one you can see here, that there were too many words or that the booklet overall was too long. And we were able to then refine these. We also went through different image types of people with a learning disability, so that we could make sure that we chose a style that people preferred and worked closely with people on this. Over to you, Amy.
Thanks. So this is what we produced. We produced a suite of new resources with a choice of formats. We've got 4 easy reads, a photo book, 6 videos, 6 YouTube shorts, and some information for professionals as well. And we're going to go through those now. All of the resources are free to access online, to download, order and watch, not just for Marie Curie staff, for everyone. The public can order them as well. The link's in the resource section and on the bottom of the screen now as well, at mariecurie.org.uk/learning disability. I think one of the things that's important to say is that everyone with a learning disability will have different needs. So what's useful or accessible for one person won't be for someone else. So as well as being aware of what's available, it's really important to understand the needs of the person you're supporting and what would benefit them. And we talked about that a bit this morning, actually, didn't we? So about that for example, in your college class, that some people would like the easy reads and some people might need help.
To read it to the carers to read to them.
The carers to read to them.
Yeah, because I think they would understand it more. And then it'd be nice to have sign language as well in the books for people that can't talk and they do sign language all the time.
Yeah.
They understand it more as well.
So someone else can help people understand it.
Yeah, with sign language.
And then also this thinking about sign language
because
as well.
Sign language, when Natalie was talking, there's a picture of my man sign language.
Yeah.
And then one at the top was doing it.
Yeah, well. In the videos, having sign language as well.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. And we've, as Nadia sort of said, we've developed resources that we hope will have a broad use and be impactful for lots of people. But it may well be that people need resources more specific to their situation or experiences, or need bespoke resources developed for that situation as well.
What is that?
These are the 4 easy reads that we produced as part of this project. They are covering the topics: what is death, what is a terminal illness, what is a syringe driver, and your feelings after someone dies. And they're for people with a learning disability who have a terminal illness themselves, and for people with a learning disability when someone they know is dying or has died. And for people not familiar with the easy read format, there's an example on the right hand side of the screen here. They have a picture per information point, and they use short sentences and easy to understand words. And this was a format I think that you quite liked.
I did. It was more nice, and then it was easy to read, and it'd be more nice if they got a children's video with their picture and they would understand it more, like they do with children's videos. Like I bet you probably got one, and you could see faces in them.
Okay, so for like videos to have,
so they understand it more, like
a
children's tablet, because they probably will understand it more than one of these tablets.
Yeah, rather than sort of on a website.
Yeah, I feel sure they would like.
Yeah, helpful. I think Nadia's going to talk about the next resources.
Yeah, so we just wanted to give a little bit of detail, a few examples of how the resources have been designed for this audiences. One of the things we wanted to do was address fears or concerns explicitly. This was because it was just really important when it was coming up in conversations with people. So there are a few examples here. Some worries included that people would worry that they would die because someone else they knew had died. Some people struggle, like Amy said earlier, with the finality of death or worry that the person is in pain. A lot of people have feelings of guilt and worry that it's their fault. And when we spoke with people, we found that once we started talking about dying from an illness, people talked about a variety of non-terminal illnesses and were understandably concerned. So people would worry that when they were sick, they would die. So it's really important for us to address this explicitly and get that wording right, which we did really closely with people with a learning disability to hone that wording really. People were often worried that the person dying would be in pain, or they wanted sort of the information and reassurance around this. It was sometimes the most important part of the resource. So we took people's suggestions to move this information earlier in resources where it was relevant. And you can see on the right-hand side from the circle just how sort of far forward in the video this information is. In the original script, it was further back, but we changed things around based on feedback as we went along. Another example of how the resources have been designed for this audience is looking at the fear of needles or needle phobia. We found that there was a higher rate of fear of needles or a particular struggle for this audience with this. So we addressed this explicitly across the resources, and we talked about what can help with this as well. Sometimes the explanation of exactly why a syringe pump was being used could help, and was the most useful sort of tool in addressing these fears, because once people knew exactly why this was being used or suggested, they felt more comfortable and reassured. And we were able to offer a clear explanation in our resources that people just might not have encountered before. We did work closely with people with a learning disability again on this issue across our resources. And this enabled us to sort of look at things like the size of the needle. So we have feedback that it was too big. So in the illustrations, we look closely at making sure that that wasn't too big and wasn't off-putting. In the video that you can see a still of in the right-hand side, we don't show a needle and we don't show the syringe driver going into someone's body. This still is actually from the part of the video where Sam is demonstrating the soft tube that is left under someone's skin, and he's showing there that it's not sharp. We had feedback that showing the real needle would be off-putting and that people just wouldn't watch the video and therefore wouldn't be able to get this information. I think I've just got this one last example. So we have every topic printed in printed and video format, and we also considered what people needed from each topic. So, for example, with syringe drivers information, we recognised it was important to have a photo of a real syringe driver as well as the illustrated image. We had feedback from people that had worked closely with people with a learning disability that people wanted this image. It would basically help prepare them for what they would see in real life. So we added that into the booklet. So we've got a new photo book. It's something we haven't done before, and it's called What Happens When Someone is Dying. It has a series of photos following a person who is dying and his partner. It shows common symptoms, changes you might see or notice, and it also shows that someone might not be able to do everything they did before. Having this photo book format allows us to show the gist of what is happening to the person, and helps people to understand these changes. It also gives the person or anyone supporting them words to understand or explain what is happening. Like I said, it's a new format for us. We're really excited about it, and we're also really keen to know what people think. We'll show you how to give feedback towards the end of this presentation, but yeah, please do share your thoughts if you have a look at this resource. Here we've got our 5 new videos and our shorts. So these cover the same topics as the booklets, and they follow the same order and wording, so people can choose which format they want to use or use them alongside each other. Like I said, that was some of the feedback that we had. Most of the information is delivered by Marie Curie healthcare professionals, Sarita and Sam. Big shout out to both of them. They deliver the information in a really clear and reassuring way, using words that are easy to understand and using a measured pace to deliver this. For the feelings video, people felt it was really important to hear from people with personal experiences. This allows us to normalise feelings and experiences, and we filmed with Sue, Harry and Sam for these. Both Sue and Harry have learning disabilities and were really keen to be involved and talk about their experiences. We also heard that social media was a really big way that people access both information and videos. So the YouTube shorts can be especially useful for this. We can share these across social media. You can see stills of these at the bottom of the slide here. I am going to show a short clip from one of our videos.
Your feelings after someone dies. Hello, my name is Sarita and I work at Marie Curie. Today I'm going to talk to you about how you might feel when someone dies and things that might help you feel better. You might have lots of different feelings when someone dies, and this is sometimes called grief. You might feel sad, angry, annoyed, worried, or shocked. Or you might not feel anything at all. You might worry it is your fault the person has died. It is not your fault. All these feelings are normal. Other people might have different feelings to you. Everyone is different. There is no right or wrong way to feel. Here's Sue, Harry, and Sam talking about how they felt when someone important to them died.
Terrible. Upset. I can't believe he's dead. Why did he die? Did he die because he wanted to die and his heart gave up?
Sad.
Sad. What else?
Crying.
Yeah, you were crying because you were sad.
Nervous.
You were nervous. Why did you feel nervous?
A bit scared. The worry.
It was a scary time that was full of worry. Okay. What else?
Frightened.
Why did you feel frightened?
She scared. Worried about me.
You were worried about you. Why were you worried about you?
Because of my dad.
How you'd manage without Dad.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just wanted to show you a short part of one of our videos so you can see the sort of videos we produce, and that's an example of one including both personal experiences and information. Amy and Sue, did you want to talk about that video at all, or shall I move on?
I was just going to ask you how it feels watching it now.
It was nice watching it again and did what I did and seeing me again talking about my father and what grieved me is. I realise now it's not my fault that he died. I've got over it and I realise it now.
Yeah, thank you. So I think, it sounds like it seems like you had a really positive experience being involved. And that's interesting that you mentioned about, it's not your fault, because that's something that I think came out when we were speaking, that you thought it might have been your fault. Thank you.
Thank you.
Things that might change in your
And as part of the project, we also developed some information for professionals, so for health and social care professionals. We have 2 website pages. One is on palliative and end-of-life care for people with a learning disability, and one is on supporting an adult with a learning disability when someone they know is dying or has died. So they include up-to-date information on communication. The first page has information on things like symptom assessment and management, and they both have links to other resources as well that can support you when you're supporting someone. And I think if you don't have time to look at the pages, the one thing that I would really like people to take away is the importance of listening to the person and listening to the people who know them well. As well. Is there anything, Sue, from thinking about sort of doctors and nurses that you would want people to know about supporting?
If they had a disability nurse,
If the nurse
was disability like me,
a disability nurse,
and she could, and had a nurse as well, she would explain it more than the nurse who was normal.
Yeah,
because she would understand it more than what the other nurse thought.
Yeah, so sometimes you have learning disability nurses who can support.
I feel they should have some of them.
Yeah, thank you. And as part of this, we developed a film as well, and that features again some of our. It features Sue and Harry and Sarita as well, and we've got a short clip of that video where Sam is talking about using language. So Nadia, are you okay to play that, please?
I think it's important to have these conversations with everyone, but particularly with people that are living with additional needs, learning disabilities. And I think the most important thing for us was avoiding softening or sugarcoating the situation. We were really conscious not to use language like he'd gone to sleep, because we didn't want to cause more confusion for you or cause any worry around sleeping, because that's not what happened. He didn't go to sleep, he died. So it's being very clear, isn't it, around the words that we use, to be clear that he had died, and just having that really honest communication.
So that's all of that's on our website as well under that link. And we thought it might help to share some tips on including people with a learning disability. And these are just from our experience with this project. The first thing, we found it really helped to get to know people, so to understand more about people's experiences, interests and needs, and what they wanted to be involved in as well. And Sue, I know we've kind of covered this already, but how did you feel generally about being involved in some of this?
It was very nice to be involved in it, and it was nice to have to know more about it as well.
To learn more about things as well,
yeah.
And for things like today and for the filming, how did you feel about being involved in that?
I was very excited when Amy told me about it.
You're very excited.
Yeah.
Did you feel nervous?
No.
Do you feel nervous today? Yeah. I think, Sue's you're a very sociable person and you love learning new things and going to college and things. So I think it was something that that kind of was good for you.
It was very good in that.
Yeah. And the next thing was around giving people the opportunity to be heard. So I think many people with a learning disability have speech that might be less clear or harder to understand. One of the people that we spoke to, one of the first things they said to us was that their speech was harder to understand, and please ask them again if we don't understand something. People don't want you to pretend that you've heard what they've said. People want to be heard, so making sure that we really listen to people. And I think that's something that you kind of felt as well.
Yes, to listen to people, what they're saying and that. And it would be very good if they had a special mic in the background and it will pick up what they're saying.
Yeah.
And it will, like they do on TV, the sign language, and it will make it better for other people to understand what they're saying.
Yeah. Things that help to understand what people are saying.
Yes, I should do that.
Yeah. We also found it helpful to ask what people needed and to try and understand that as well. So for some people we spoke to, it really helped to have a family member or colleague with them to support them. And in particular, we found it helped people to relate our questions to their personal experiences. So sometimes if we ask something that's quite abstract or difficult to relate, that people would say, oh, remember when this happened to you, or oh, you did look at an easy read for that appointment and things. So I think that helped.
Good.
Definitely. But you kind of were quite happy mostly to talk by yourself.
Yeah. It's nice talking by myself. And Amy as well.
Yeah.
And Karen, of course, my sister.
Yeah. And then we found it helped to give people the opportunity to learn as well. I think it's really important we don't mistake having a learning disability for not being able to learn. So you're really comfortable on on WhatsApp and things. And Teams wasn't something you'd used before.
No.
But that's what we use a lot at work, and we sort of went through that. How did you find using that?
I find it very easy. WhatsApp, I got it, and I put my doodle in it, and it came and it came up straight away.
Yeah. So once we'd gone through it, and we made sure that with anything like that, we'd go through things before there was like a meeting or something. And you were really good at that.
Yeah, it was.
I think allowing more time for lots of different reasons. We needed a bit more time to do this project now. So sometimes we'd have a call, but we weren't able to cover everything that we thought we might. And we felt it was really important not to rush people. Make sure people had time to kind of share.
To share the feelings.
Yeah, share their feelings. We thought it's important to consider the financial impact on people. So it's obviously really different for each project and depending on what you're doing. But at a minimum, making sure people were kind of reimbursed for their costs, but also I know people look at paid research positions. We looked at payment for time and incentives as well. And there's some great guidance out there on those things. Being open and willing to learn. So we can't be experts in everything, and we absolutely don't get everything right all the time, but being really open to feedback and change. And I think for me, one of the really big messages is that these tips make everything better for everyone. So one of the things we did as part of this project is before we did the filming with you and with Harry and Sam, we had a call the week before that just had everyone who would be there on the day.
Yeah, it was so nice seeing them all again.
Yeah. So you'd already kind of met people
that I knew,
and then you could know what they would be doing on the day. And that's something that we think worked really well, and that now we look at trying to do across our work whenever we're doing filming with anyone, because I think for everyone that can be a daunting or new experience. So it helps to make people feel a bit more relaxed or confident on the day. So yeah, I think anything around inclusivity that you can do does ultimately help everyone. And so I was just wondering if there's anything else you wanted to say about kind of being involved, or how you felt about those kind of changes, or
I feel the very good the changes will be very good for the old people. And it'd be nice for them to understand it more with the nurses and the families and that. And the grandchildren, the great grandchildren, will be able to understand it more if it was a change to that booklet or the releasing.
Yeah. So for the resources, it helps people understand.
It does.
As a family.
I think it would do.
And do you think there's anything with the project that you ever felt like left out of, that we weren't talking to you about or telling you about?
I think the ejections and that, because in them days when I was brought up, there was nothing like, and do you get a box in your arm and that, but you just have to do it with a little needle.
Yeah.
And that's what it was in them days, and that was it thought of. And this is something new to me.
Yeah. So about the kind of injections and explaining around them, that was new. Yeah.
It's new to me.
We only winced a little bit when we saw the syringe drivers on the screen, but you like seeing the photos.
Yeah, I did. So they did it.
Yeah. And so was there anything that through the project that you kind of like you learned about that was new to you?
It's talk about your grief to people.
Yeah.
And it's nice happy looking at those books because it makes you happy looking at them, because you understand them more than I did in them days.
Yeah.
And I love the love hearts, they keep coming up as well.
She loves the love hearts.
They're coming up.
But yeah, I think he's saying the booklets that they kind of help you understand more than you did before about things that happened.
Exactly.
I think one of the things that stops people from engaging sometimes with people with a learning disability or talking about difficult subjects is that people don't want to upset other people.
That's the trouble.
Did you feel upset when we were talking about things?
Not really, no. I just, it's nice to talk about it, but you have someone else in the room, but not babes like me, that get us very upset all the time. Then you just call the babe to cope with them. Because you have to calm down all the time. For about 2 minutes, but I'm fine about it.
Yeah, so sort of making sure you're not upsetting people.
No, yeah.
But you can get a bit...
Yeah, get a bit emotion.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Sue.
Okay.
Sorry, Nadia, I haven't left you lots of time for evaluation.
Yeah, well, I think that's a lot more exciting than evaluation, isn't it? Thank you both. Let's see. Okay. So just a quick one. We are now at the evaluation stage of our project. There is a short survey. I think the link to this is in the resources section. You can see it here on screen. Someone's popped it in the chat for us as well. Thank you very much. So this is for anyone, even if you haven't ordered or used the resources yet, we're really keen to get any initial thoughts you have if you have a look at them online, for example. So yeah, please do have a look, please share your thoughts. However, negative, positive, neutral, we want to hear it all. We're also hoping to carry out some focus groups over the next few months. We want to look at how much the resources have been used, by who, crucially, and how they're used as well. So far, I think these are the latest figures. We've had over 2,000 views across all of the videos, and over 1,200 orders across all of the printed resources. So we're pretty happy with that. And finally, a huge, huge thank you to everyone who has been involved. We normally have lots of people contributing to our projects, but due to the nature of this one and the scope of the project, it was loads of people, and even more people than on the screen here. So a huge thank you to you all. Several people are, I believe, on this call today. So thank you so much for sharing your insight, your personal experiences. We really, really appreciate it. And a huge thank you today from me to you, Sue, and to Amy and Kate. Over to you, Kate.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Sue, there's plenty of hearts coming up on screen now. I think I just wanted to congratulate you all on some amazing resources, and I think that final slide where you're thanking everyone is a real testament to actually how inclusive the whole process has been. So many thanks for taking us through how you researched and developed the resources, the practical steps you took to make the process more inclusive, and also sharing the insights that you gained into people's information needs and preferences. And extra special thanks to Sue for speaking to us today, giving us your time and sharing your experience as well of being involved throughout. I was gonna open up the floor for questions. I see that there's a number of questions come through in the Q&A. If anyone would like to ask these live, then please do raise your hand and we can unmute you, and you can ask them live if you wish. I will go through the first question. So amazing work, and well done to you all. The person's curious about the uptake of the resources and any feedback that you've received so far.
Do you want to answer, Nadia, or do you want me
Yeah,
to?
sorry, since I stopped sharing, I was trying to find my unmute button. How old is that? Yeah. Yeah, so sorry, it was the uptake of the resources and any feedback so far, was
Yeah.
it? Yeah, so yeah, uptake, I think it was really, really good. We're quite pleased with it so far. We obviously want loads more orders and views, but we're happy with what we've got so far. It was over 2,000 views across the videos. Some are more popular than others, which we kind of thought some might be. And we've had really good order numbers on some of our booklets as well. So I think it's over 12,000, 1,200 across all the printed resources. Yeah, feedback we've had so far. I can't think of any specific. Amy, jump in if you can, but I know that people have responded positively. There was several identified needs throughout the project, including accessible resources about syringe drivers or syringe pumps, for example. So the fact that we've been able to fill that gap has been really gratefully received. We want to continue developing the resources as well. So we hope that if there are any further gaps identified, that people will let us know. Amy, is there any particular feedback you can remember?
No, I think we are still in the process of gathering feedback sort of since they've been released. So we'd love to hear from people. And I think even if you haven't used them, but you have some thoughts or kind of initial impressions or how you might use that, then the Smart Survey accounts for that as well. So please do share.
Great, thank you. And Sarah's popped a question in the chat. Sarah, would you like to ask it live? I know it can be hard to find the raise hand. So Sarah's saying that the resources look fab, so some feedback immediately. Just a question as to why you chose animation style pictures in the easy read rather than photo images. She says that she's aware there are conflicting views around this, and was this your participants' preference?
Yeah, in a nutshell, yes, it was. So like I said, it was a really important thing for us to get the images right. And unfortunately, what's right is different for everyone because everyone did have different preferences, as you say. There were sort of, I guess, two main reasons that we chose that style over real pictures. One was that people that we spoke to and that the people that we worked with preferred this over real images for this particular format. It was the easy read format is about sort of showing, giving individual points of information, rather than sort of a more detailed point for each sort of line, which we found that those sort of more animation style images were able to do. And the second main reason is because it's more difficult to portray what you want to with pictures because if you don't have or can't find or can't make new images of what you want to portray, you're a bit stuck. So that sort of animation style enabled us to show exactly what we needed to. Have I covered that, Amy? Or...
Yeah, really well. I think there's only been sort of smaller samples of comparison kind of research or insights on those different things as well. And we from our understanding that it didn't make a difference to people's understanding or ability to process the information. So some of it comes down to personal preference, and then also some of it comes down to cost as well. So yeah. But yeah, lots of different decisions like that were quite complicated at times.
A question for Sue. What was your favourite thing about filming and being involved?
The film was very, very good, and it was just so nice to talk about what's it called? Mary Curie. It's very nice to talk about it, and it's so nice to look at the photographs with my sister Karen, to look at back of me photographs, and it's nice to have Nelsa sitting by me.
Yeah,
it's so nice.
Yeah,
but it's not here no more.
No, I think as when we did the filming, we did. Sue was saying about the photos. We did a photo shoot as well while the filming photography experts were with us, and that's great because that means that we can kind of use those images more broadly to increase sort of inclusivity in our images as well. But you really enjoyed that, didn't you? It took quite a long time.
Yes, but it was very good doing it as well.
Another question's come through. Was there anything unexpected, anything that surprised you in the process at all?
I think for me, it's probably that some of the photo book that we developed that photo book in the end. I think we were looking at some brilliant resources like Books Beyond Words and some other options, and we realised that through our some of our colleagues in our creative team that we had some existing photos that might be suitable, and so it made it a bit easier to kind of trial and test out a different format. And a lot of people like those kind of more detailed and photo images as well. So we are interested to hear what people think about those. But yeah, I wasn't necessarily expecting that we would have something like that as an output, but that kind of came about through people's feedback and those different opportunities. What about you, Nadia?
I guess a couple of things. One wasn't a complete surprise because we had heard it before, but the sort of language to use around things that are perceived as well that can be really upsetting. So like I said, we work closely with people on what wording to use around how to explain that someone had died, or basically wording that is perceived normally as blunt and continue to be perceived as blunt by some family members and some professionals as well. But when we spoke to people with learning disability, I think everyone, to be honest, that we spoke to, correct me if I'm wrong, Amy, but everyone that we spoke to preferred that sort of language that a lot of people see as blunt because it was clear and it explained the point really clearly and really simply. So I guess it was a little bit surprising to me to hear that consistently from people, because there were some people, supporting people with a learning disability that didn't like it because it's not language that people may necessarily be comfortable or used to. And I think the second one for me was around syringe drivers. So when people were really understandably nervous around this sort of new, for some people, new medical equipment that they'd either seen and didn't really understand about, or had seen and were wary of, especially because needles are involved, like I said earlier. And what surprised me was the fact that when we explained what they're used for and why they're used, people's sort of perceptions almost immediately changed and became a lot more comfortable. So it's kind of a light bulb moment for me anyway, where I sort of thought, well, when you explain these things clearly and in a really accessible way, it is just a lot more comfortable for people, which shouldn't be a surprise, but having that interaction with people showed me that, yeah, that's really truly the best way to do things. So it was a really great moment.
There's a question that's come through from Mohammed. How difficult or easy was it to get an understanding of the word dead or died? Or was it something that participants were already familiar with?
That's a really good question. I think it varied for people. I think a lot of people had experienced that someone had died, and you knew what that
Yeah, I knew what it
meant.
was. That's meant.
I think the things that might be harder is kind of understanding why someone had died, and not just like a diagnosis, but why that had happened to that person at that time.
They'd gone to sleep and it was their time to go.
Yeah, they'd gone to sleep and it was their time to go.
Okay.
Yeah, and so people kind of had different like language to use around it. But yeah, most of the people that we spoke to, and we obviously didn't speak to everyone by any means, but kind of had an understanding of a concept of death or dead.
Thank you. I think we can go to Louise Jones. She's got a question that she'd like to ask.
Hello, yes, can you hear me properly?
Yeah.
Stunning, love it. Thank you so much for letting me unmute. How exciting. Sorry if you covered this in the initial presentation, but I just wondered if you had any plans now to, or you expect to at some point expand on these resources, as you clearly had so much insight from people, and people wanted different formats and for you to talk on different topics. So I just wondered what the plan was from here.
Thank you, and it's a great question. I think we would have loved to have done 20 different things and then see how things land. But I think we are we're looking at that, and we're looking at with all of our information, we review it regularly, and as part of that review, we get feedback from people, and we understand how to progress things, how to improve things. I think what would be really helpful is to have more feedback from people about what else would be interesting or useful in their practice, and then we can kind of start building more understanding of those things. So please take the survey.
Of course. Thank you.
And we've had a couple of questions asking whether the resources, sort of relating to whether the resources are suitable for children or teenagers, or whether there are separate resources that could be used.
It's a really good question. I think the resources generally, we think they have a really broad appeal, so much broader than just for people with a learning disability. So perhaps for autistic people, for people who for whom English isn't a first language, that the resources have a really broad use. They're not designed for children, and they're not designed for kind of teenagers either. So I think it depends on your looking at that person and what would be helpful for them. We do have some resources on supporting children and young adults. and that those link to other resources that can be useful. There was a project done in collaboration with Winston's Wish, and there is a spotlight on it tomorrow. So join that session. But yeah, so they're not designed for children, but I think it's good to look at all of the resources that are out there to see what's most useful for the people that you're supporting.
Brilliant. Thanks, Amy, and thanks for signposting to tomorrow's session as well. We've sadly run out of time. I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for attending, again, engaging with the session. Thank you once again to our speakers, and a special shout out to Sue for joining us. A recording of the session is available on the platform later today. If our audience has got unanswered questions, please do connect with Amy and Nadia. Their email addresses are on the last slide. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and do enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Take care.